When we were thinking about bringing back Asia TOPA after 5 years, we could think of no better way to celebrate the return with our biggest commission of the festival, which is our opening night performance, one night only tomorrow night on Thursday the 20th of February. It's a brand new commission by who I can only describe as an absolute icon of contemporary Australian art and performance, William Young. William is an artist who I've had the pleasure of working with several times in my career as a curator. He is a pioneering storyteller and photographer who opens the festival and is here with us today. Welcome, William. Have you come straight from rehearsal at Hamer Hall just behind us?
Yes.
Thank you for spending the time with us, and we'll send you back soon. It's been such a pleasure commissioning and working alongside you to create this work. I'm wondering if you could just start by telling us a little bit about your practice. You're both a photographer and a storyteller, and how those disciplines kind of come together for you.
Well, I started off with slide projection in people's living rooms, and usually audio-visual, which was just slide projection with music. But when you actually project a slide, there's a natural tendency to talk with the slide. And so I started talking with the slide, and I did my first performance piece in 1989 called The Face of Buddha. And it was like 9 short stories or 9 photographic essays. And it was successful, but I lost money on the venture. But then I had a big success when I did Sadness in 1992, which actually came to Melbourne for the Melbourne Festival. And it was about my family, centered around the murder of my uncle in 1922, and also about people dying of AIDS in Sydney, the gay community. And so that toured Australia and it toured the world, and I was able to set up a circuit, and overseas presenters were willing to take my next piece. It became my main form. And so I kept doing these performances pieces, and for about 15 years, I had a good career touring them around the world until the global financial crisis. And they developed as an art form because the first time I used just recorded classical music, and then I started to use commissioned scores and also to commission a composer, performer to play with me. And the biggest I've ever done to date was I had an Elena Chernin score. I had 2 musicians on stage with me. So this is a huge jump.
Yes, and when we were thinking about commissioning you for the festival and for Asia TOPA, one of the privileges of being here at the Arts Centre is that one of our resident companies is the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. And I remember talking to our senior curator, who's just over here, Tam Newen, about commissioning William at this incredible stage of his life and career. And Tam said, I want to see William perform with the MSO. Knowing that he was a classical music junkie and that, you know, there's been a recurrence of classical music in your performances. So we're very privileged and excited to be, you know, upgrading that classical music accompaniment to a score composed by your dear friend and longtime collaborator, Elena Chernin, in which she'll perform live alongside the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Can you tell us a little bit about this work, Milestone, the themes behind it, what it's about?
Well, it's like, I've done 13 performance pieces, So it's not an entirely new work, because I've kind of remixed all the stories about me into one story, and it's about the milestones of my life. And so it's very autobiographical, and there's a few new pieces in it, by the way. I worked with Elena before, and so she's an incredible composer, because the way I describe it is she's a conduit to the universe of sound. And so I used to play her the audio visuals, and she would come up immediately with something, and either I'd say, "Oh, that's great, Elena, but fewer notes," or "Don't go there," or something, and immediately she'd come up with something else. And so it's been a joy. We've had so much fun working on this piece, and she loves it, and so she wanted to play with the orchestra. So it was an extra expense, but we found the money.
We found the money. We always find a way where the artistic idea is important. This is, your photography has documented 4 decades really of social change in Australia, and for me there are all these recurring themes around your family story, the story of the Chinese-Australian experience, and the sort of how you've come up against racism and oppression and conquered those barriers in your life, about the birth of Australia's LGBTQ rights movement, all of the fabulous documentation of the early Mardi Gras and your community in Sydney, and also, I guess, the development of Australia's bohemian artistic community, the people that you were friends with, from the Whiteleys, Brett and Wendy Whiteley, to Jenny Key and Linda Jackson, all of which is encapsulated in this performance of Milestone. So I guess on the eve of performing it here at Hamer Hall with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra for one night only to open Asia TOPA, how are you feeling?
Well, this is the biggest audience I've ever played to, so I'm feeling slightly overwhelmed. But in this sort of situation, I just have to have faith in the story, really. Just say, look, I know a story told by the person, because I've been doing storytelling workshops. A story, your own story, told live on stage is powerful, and I just have to keep telling that to myself when I'm faced with 2,000 people.
I can confirm it's very powerful, and I think the power of your work and the power of this work is that, particularly Milestone, it's your story and it's very personal, but in this work we can all see our stories reflected in yours, and I think everybody will resonate with different parts of this performance, and you give us the gift of seeing ourselves reflected in both your own life story and the story of Australia's evolution as a nation and a culture. That's a huge gift, and I just want to say thank you for that, and to urge all of you not to miss this performance. It is literally one night only to open Asia TOPA tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we get on with the proceedings?
No.
I think the work speaks for itself, but we're extraordinarily privileged at Asia TOPA to be opening our festival after 5 years with a huge new commission by William Young, and please make him feel welcome with me.